Hi folks, and welcome to My Friend the Reader Summer Backlist Reading Edition. So, it's Victoria Day weekend, it's Monday, we've had a pretty busy weekend here at the house. We did a bunch of gardening, I did some painting in the room, running around today cleaning, but I decided to sneak in a few minutes to film this video. I've managed to do a lot of reading this weekend, surprisingly so. Not as much like physical looking at the book reading, but because of all the tasks I'm doing, I'm able to mostly listen to my audiobooks. I finished two, Tangerine, and I just finished The Parking Lot Attendant, both great and recommended books if you're looking for audiobooks or otherwise. Both of them are recent summer reads, which I will not actually include either in this video or in my next one, which will be newish books for the summer. So summer's a super busy time to read. It's usually for a lot of people the only opportunity for them to catch up, maybe read a few books to take to the beach or on vacation. And people are often looking for breezier books, maybe something that has less depth or less emotionally draining. I usually don't create that kind of distinction in terms of what kinds of books I like to read in the summer versus the rest of the year. I find the summer is usually a better time to read though. I'm more relaxed, the sunshine seems to encourage me. We have a beautiful backyard where sometimes I sit on the cushions and I sit down and read for a few hours. So today I kind of wanted to look at some backlist books. Nothing released in the last few years. I want to go back a few more. Books that I am planning to read over the summer, which I guess are kind of either genre-y or maybe a little light, but that's not the case always. And the books that I've decided to choose are, well, I'm going to start with the two ones I have on Kindle. And the first one is, and I have to pull up the description on Goodreads, and that is Don Winslow's The Power of the Dog. And there, pulled that up. So Don Winslow wrote a book a few years ago called The Cartel, which was a huge hit. I audiobooked it and it was amazing. It deals with the story of a CIA agent who becomes, I think, a DEA agent at some point, and him going after this the family of a Mexican cartel. It is gripping in its pace and its character development, and it is draining emotionally, all the twists and turns and death of characters you've grown to love and adore, even like those who are theoretically on the wrong side of the issue. Anyways, it was a huge hit. It was optioned by Ridley Scott. I'm not sure if it's actually going to be turned into a film, but hopefully it will at some point. I did read his latest, which is called The Force, which is also very good. Definitely not on the level of The Cartel, but I still gave it a 5-star read on Goodreads. I enjoyed it. Now, The Cartel is actually a sequel. It comes after The Power of the Dog, which was the first book, and that was written back in 2006, so I guess there's 8 years between the books. You can read them separately. I was able to read The Cartel and get right into it without having the backstory of The Power of the Dog. I've heard The Power of the Dog is just as good or better. So anyways, I'll give you the short description. The prequel to The Cartel, and set about 10 years earlier, The Power of the Dog introduces a brilliant cast of characters. Art Keller is an obsessive DEA agent. The Barrera brothers are heirs to a drug empire. Nora Hayden is a jaded teenager who becomes a high-class hooker. Father Parada is a powerful and incorruptible Catholic priest. Callan is an Irish kid from Hell's Kitchen who grows up to be a merciless merciless hitmen, and they all are trapped in the world of the Mexican Drug Federation. From the streets of New York City to Mexico City and Tijuana to the jungles of Central America, this is the war on drugs like you've never seen it. Anyways, Winslow's a riveting writer, worth picking up, and his knowledge and research that he's done leading into this book to be familiar with the inner workings of the drug wars in Mexico are fascinating. Anyways, that'll probably be, despite it being quite long, one of the lighter reads I'm doing this summer. The other one is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafron. So I am doing, I think I've mentioned this before, the Goodreads Read Harder Challenge. This is the genre book in translation, I think. So I think there's a magical fantasy element to this. I think that's the category. Don't quote me. Again, don't quote this against me in the future when I tell you, no, it was something else. But anyways, here it is. The literary sensation about a boy's quest through the secrets and shadows of post-war Barcelona from a mysterious author whose books has proved as dangerous to own as it is impossible to forget. Barcelona, 1945. Just after the war, a great world city lies in shadow, nursing its wounds, and a boy named Daniel awakes on his 11th birthday to find that he can no longer remember his mother's face. To console his only child, Daniel's widowed father, an antiquarian book dealer, initiates him into the secrets of the Cemetery of Forgotten Books, a library tended by Barcelona's Guild of Rare Book Dealers as a repository for books forgotten by the world, waiting for someone who will care about them again. Daniel's father coaxes him to choose a volume from the spiraling labyrinth of shelves, one that, it is said, will have a special meaning for him. And Daniel so loves the novel he selects The Shadow of the Wind by one Julian Carax, that he sets out to find the rest of Carax's work. To his shock, he discovers that someone has been systematically destroying every copy of every book the author has ever written. In fact, he may have the last one in existence. Before Daniel knows it, his seemingly innocent quest has opened a door into one of Barcelona's darkest secrets, an epic story of murder, magic, madness, and doomed love. And before long, he realizes that if he doesn't find out the truth about Julian Carax, he and those closest to him will suffer horribly. So that sounds great. It'll be, again, summary read, I think, as well. And I'm not sure if it's classified as YA. It sounds kind of it. Anyways, this book is from 2005, at least the English translation. Again, a kind of chunky book, but if summer is not for chunky books, no time is. So the other three books, two of them are also for the Read Harder Challenge. One is Nadine Gordimer's The Conversationist. And so this was the category of a book that you had been assigned and weren't and didn't finish. And this was first year English in university, which started off as a great course and got kind of lost and meandering in the poetry section, and I lost interest in the course. And it's the worst mark I had in university. But nonetheless, Nadine Gordimer won the Booker Prize, I think 1974, for this book. And she's an author I've wanted to get into. It doesn't have great reviews on Goodreads, so we'll see whether or not it says... it seems very atmospheric, which maybe after having a couple of plot-driven books that I've just mentioned, picking up a slower atmospheric book, not too long, might help to cleanse the palate. So that's that one. The next one is Larry McMurtry's A Lonesome Dove, which I think I've mentioned before in one of the videos I did on Pulitzer winners, because this is a Pulitzer winner, and it's massive. I'll just quickly do the description. A love story, an adventure and an epic of the frontier. Larry McMurtry's Pulitzer Prize-winning classic Lonesome Dove, The third book in the Lonesome Dove trilogy, although the first written, is the grandest novel ever written about the last defiant wilderness of America. Journey to the dusty little Texas town of Lonesome Dove and meet an unforgettable assortment of heroes and outlaws, whores and ladies, Indians and settlers. Richly authentic, beautifully written, always dramatic. Lonesome Dove is a book to make us laugh, weep, dream, and remember. I'm reading this for the Western Challenge, and I don't read many Westerns. I've read a few that are quite good. I guess what would be described as Western. The Sons by, I forget the author's name, but I'll put the link before. It was shortlisted for the Pulitzer a couple years ago. And The Sisters Brothers by Patrick DeWitt would be Westerns. But of course I decided to choose this massive one because I want to torture myself. Nonetheless, I've heard great things. It's definitely one of those classics that I've wanted to pick up. So the last one is what's it called? Let's see. Is The Good Thief by Hannah Tinty. Hannah Tinty wrote The 12 Lives of Samuel Hawley, which I loved. It really released last year. And this was actually her first book. And I guess the book that kind of launched her into prominence in American literature. And here's the description. 12-year-old Wren is missing his left hand. How it was lost is one of the mysteries that Wren has been trying to solve his entire life, as well as who his parents are and why he is abandoned as an infant at St. Anthony's Orphanage for Boys. When a young man named Benjamin Nab appears claiming to be Wren's long-lost brother, his convincing tale of how Wren lost his hand persuades the monks at the orphanage to release the boy and give Wren some hope. But is Benjamin really who he says he is? As Wren is introduced to a life of hard-scrabble adventure filled with outrageous scam artists, grave robbers, and petty thieves, he begins to suspect that Benjamin holds the key not only to his future, but to his past as well. Someone, I won't name names, dropped water on my copy a couple of years ago, so it's kind of bent and whatnot, but nonetheless, I'll try to power through it. Will I get to all of these books? That's another question. I do obviously have the Read Harder Challenge, so that'll probably partly keep me motivated. Summer gets interrupted, though, for various reasons. There's some personal things happening this year that are going to cause quite big interruptions. The Booker long list actually comes out in mid-July, and usually I turn my attention to that because even if I've read a couple of them, last year I read 6 of them in advance, and that was luck, I think, because usually the list tends to be more obscure. And if I want to try to read the long list again, that means putting other books that I had set aside for the summer aside, putting them aside. The other problem is that this is the Booker Prize's 50th anniversary, and they're doing a bit of a competition, another Booker of Bookers. They've done this a few times. Salman Rushdie seems to win all the time for Midnight's Children. Who knows if this will happen? What is happening is that one judge has been selected for each of the decades of the Booker Prize. They choose one book from that list, and there are 10 books to choose from, and then they have I think there's a vote actually. It might be like anyone can vote of those 5 finalists. And so if I haven't read all of them, maybe I'm going to pick some of that. So there's all sorts of interruptions that I foresee. Hopefully that won't happen. In terms of the new summer books to pick up, I am waiting a bit, probably in June. I was lucky enough to win a couple of books from a bibliophile's journey, and I will link to her channel before. She did a bit of a giveaway because she wanted to cut down on some of the books she bought, so she did a giveaway, very generous. So I was able to get a couple of books on pre-order from Book Depository. They're not shipping out till June 2nd, so I figure I won't get them until the week after. And as a result, I may have to wait until then because I want to show them off. and there are two new hot books for the summer that I'm sure many of you already know about, but nonetheless I think are worth highlighting in my Summer Reads 2018 edition. So anyways, that's it for now. I will see you soon, and happy reading.